Have you ever wanted to hide? You want to help, but you have to take care of your family first. Maybe this next paycheck I can support causes I love. Tell me, how does this sound? You shop, click a picture of a receipt, and pick someone you support while shopping for your family. Well, check out communitypayitforward.us. Hover your mouse here. Click on the Verified Given Partner button and shop with any partner that will satisfy your needs. Grab the receipt because every time you shop, a Community Pay It Forward mission partner receives anywhere from 80 to 90% of a referral. You can find the mission partners by going right here. Each mission has a QR code so you can upload your receipt. And that's it. Shop, click, and pick. Join the program. You shop with small businesses and support great people. Great people who need a little help, or help to support the great people doing great things. Because with Community Pay It Forward, you don't have to hide anymore. Community Pay It Forward knows every small business is essential.
Into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here?
Wednesday night, everyone. That means pACT. Podcasting for all coming together. That means you and I get to sit here and we get to talk about people who are doing good things, great things in this world where we need great things to continue to happen. You know, it's really, and this is just something that is astonishing to me, is that we talk every day to people who say, I don't watch the news because there's nothing good on. Nobody ever does any, they don't ever report any of the good. That's what we're here to do. Do I think that my little channel here is going to do that on its own? Well, not if I don't try. That's what I try to always tell you guys, is that if I don't try, I won't succeed. So I'm going to try so we can succeed. Today is going to be very, very kid-centric. We've got, oh, excuse me as I choke on the words. We got two wonderful programs that I talk that are with us. And one of them is going to be with the goddess of the grape, Stephanie Samos. I don't know what I swallowed, but thank God, professionalism, love it. But Stephanie and Patric are going to be joining us at about the 45 mark of the first hour. We had some things to tighten up on, and it took a little bit longer than we thought, but we got it done. So we are going to have Patric, who's going to be joining us, and it's going to be all kinds of fun. Until then, we recorded a video a little while back with Albert of the Thunder Dancers, and it didn't come out right. When I really wanted to get you guys that information, because that information is really important. Everything that Albert is doing, Albert Jerony, and he's in Africa, okay, but everything he's doing, taking these kids off the streets and helping them to build themselves and have a chance, to me is amazing. And he's going to talk a little bit about what some of the differences are in between life in America and life there. Now, I'm going to say this right now, okay? I understand that we have kids here that we need to take care of, but you know what? We've got kids everywhere that need taken care of. There are children everywhere that need a chance. How many times have you said to yourself, you know, these kids today, they don't have the work ethic. These kids today, they don't. When was the last time that you took one by the arm and said, hey, I see you struggling a little bit with this. You know, I've got a little bit of age on me. Can I help you with this? Is there something that I can help you through? There's a chance they're going to look at you and go, get away from me, you old kook. It very well could happen. Then again, you might end up meeting a wonderful person, young person, who really wants to make an impact on this world and is looking for somebody to take them by the arm and make a difference in their life. Patric, who we're going to talk to a little bit later on tonight, introduced me to one of these young men earlier this week on Monday, right after our Footprint show. We spent a better part of an hour with him. Kid's excited. All he wants to do is help people. Some things he's got to be aware of. You know, look, when a 16-year-old comes up to you and you know, says, hey, I want to help. That's awesome. It really is. It's beyond awesome. Now, do we really know what that child can do? What that youngster can do? No, we don't. But I want you to think back. It took a little while for you to prove yourself too, didn't it? And this is something that I think that we really, really need to work on. And I encourage you guys to, you know, take and give a kid a chance. Let's try to make, you know, make somebody's journey, give them at least a heads up and a head start on this journey. Because you know that you've had mentors before, and you know you've had people that you've looked up to, and without them, your journey would have been much harder. Community pay it forward, y'all. I'll get off my soapbox for a minute. I'm going to get back on it later, but you know, well, it's got to be a strong soapbox. I'm a big guy. But community pay it forward. Folks, we have a program designed to help small businesses and help people who need help. At Community Pay It Forward, 80 to 90% of any referral awarded to us by one of our partners is allocated to the communities in need. With a few clicks, you can make a difference in your community just by shopping with one of our giving partners. You can find those giving partners if you go to Community Pay It Forward /verified giving partners. Just go to Community Pay It Forward and hover over the Partners tab. It'll take you to Verified Giving Partners, and you can find anybody. You shop with them. That's all you've got to do is shop with them and take a picture of the receipt. Then you go to the Mission Partners, which is right below it when you hover. It's right below it. You go to the Mission Partners. You find the mission partner you wish to support. When you shop with that verified giving partner, they're going to give us a referral. Our mission is to support those who need help. And so what we're doing is we're dedicating 80 to 90%, as it says in the scroll on the bottom, 80 to 90% of any referral. And I don't care if it's a referral of $8 or $1,000, 80 to 90% of that referral goes to somebody who's in need. And you, as the customer, get to choose who that goes to. We unfortunately missed out on a chance today. I'm a little bummed about it, but the good news is I got to talk to one of my dearest friends, one of the greatest people I know, and she got to stab me in the head a whole bunch of times, you know, just drugging me up. And so I don't remember a lot of today anyway. So because I've been sitting around feeling like somebody put an elephant inside of my head and that elephant's trying to stretch. So the good news is I don't remember the disappointment too well. Okay, I'm lying. I remember the disappointment. But the truth is, what we are trying to do is we're trying to get in front of investors because we need this to happen. I still run this company. The majority of this company is ran by my disability. I was run off the road on my motorcycle 9 years ago now. God, I can't believe it's 9 years. I was left in a ditch for over 7 hours. When I suffered the fractured skull, the busted face, the broken neck, and the deafness, and lost the hearing in my right ear, I decided I wanted to do something. And what a better thing to do than to help people in need. Now, my first thought was I wanted to go on. I wanted to be I was going to get into event planning because I like planning stuff like poker runs and neat card events and stuff like that, helping people out. My second thought, which came right after that first thought, was wait, whoa. You don't like people near enough to try to plan an event for them. Okay. People are weird when you want to plan an event and it doesn't come out exactly like they want it. So I went another way. What I did is I went to the best group of people in the world, and that's the small to medium business owners of this country. I was going to concentrate on Colorado. I was going to get this built in Colorado. Probably would have been a smart thing to do. But then all of a sudden, this little thing called COVID happened. And when COVID happened, that kind of made it the necessity to spread out. And I got to meet some great people all over this country and people like Albert all over this world. That's what Community Pay It Forward is. Now we've got a program where all you have to do is shop with one of our partners. And when you shop with one of our partners, they're going to give me, as stated before, a referral, my company a referral. And we're going to turn around 80 to 90% of that referral to you, someone who needs help in this community. And you, the customer, gets to choose where that money goes. Now, you can still support us and help us out by scanning this code. right there, and that code will get you to us, and you can help support us in our mission. We do need your help right now. Things are really tough, and quite frankly, my my checks just aren't cutting it anymore, and especially with that whole life thing that's going. So I really would appreciate your help, and you can be part of something special. We're looking to build up the stand-up centers, which are a program that has to do with free outreach to anyone and everyone. And there's so much involved with the stand-up centers, and I'd love to talk to you about them. You can always make an appointment with me by going to my card, which is right here. And sorry about the dogs in the background. You got loud dogs, you got loud dogs. So, but go to my card and you can set up a meeting with me. We can talk. And I can tell you about the stand-up centers. I can tell you a little bit more about Community Pay It Forward. I can tell you more about Community Dare to Care, or Footprints Forward, or whatever you need to talk about. I can tell you about that. So, but when you shop with any of our partners, any of our wonderful partners, and you get that receipt, we ask you to go to one of the mission partners and choose one. And when you do that, you support them. You support wonderful causes like the Thunder Dancers. And here's an interview I did with Albert Jerony on, I believe it was Monday. Oh, no, actually, Albert was yesterday. I did it on the 4th of July. So this is Albert Jerony, the founder of the founder of the Thunder Dancers, explaining what it is. And he's in Africa, so it's a little hard to understand him, but the message is clear, and the message is true here in America, and they're in Africa. So Albert Jerony with the Thunder Dancers. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of problem with the internet. It looks like we're having a lot of weather here in Colorado, a lot of funky weather, just like, well, obviously everywhere else. So I'm going to try to do this again. I'm going to take and try to reset this interview. But here's just a little, this is a little snippet on some of the kids that Albert is working with. So while I'm trying to work to get the rest of this set up, just enjoy this little video. It's really kind of cool. Hey everybody, it's Zach. I'm here with Albert Jerony. We had recorded an interview a couple weeks ago, and it just, the sound and the internet wasn't working right for us, so we wanted to come back and we wanted to do it again. Albert is the founder of the Thunder Dancers Foundation. And I wanted to really bring him back because he is one of our community mission partners. And I really wanted him to come back and give you guys an explanation of exactly what is the Thunder Dancers program. And so I have brought him back. Albert, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, sir.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, Albert did unfortunately just have a loss. He unfortunately, and one of the things that we've been talking about a lot more recently is animals, and especially here in the States with the 4th of July coming up and the care. And Albert, you just recently lost your dog, and I'm very, very sorry about that. So tell us about the Thunder Dancers.
Okay. So Thunder Dancers Foundation is a charitable organization that provides home, education, and career for the homeless street kids in Accra, a town in Ghana. And what we do, we started the organization way back 2019, where I met six kids who were dancing in the rain late evening at one pub I used to visit. And then I wondered why these kids were dancing in the rain at that time when they were supposed to be under a roofing or be with their parents. But out of curiosity, the following day, I went to ask the well-being of these kids if they have parents, so I could warn the parents to always be alert on their kids. And to my hearing, the kids are no home, and they were waiting for the pub to close before they sleep at the pub. This touched my heart, and I said, okay, and what I would do is I would provide a home for these kids. I took them in. They started at my place. They came to stay at my end because there were 6 of the staff. Then I got an apartment for them. And what we did was, after the apartment, I also called my friends and also my families so they could help what I'm doing because I couldn't do it alone. That was where Thunder Dancers Foundation began. We had trainers to also focus on their career, where we had trainers who were training them on the dancing, and the kids were doing well, they were reacting well to the dancing. We moved from there, we started having other kids also in the street who were also homeless, and we started involving them into what we were doing, expanding our bills, expanding our goals, and the kids did well. They even did well into events, competitions. We started attending televised competition and regional events that we've been doing well with it. So that is what Thunder Dancers Foundation is focused on, helping the homeless.
You've got on your, and we're showing your YouTube channel here. One of the things that you have on here are just little videos of inspiration for kids like this one.
Did you know that successful people will always do the things that the unsuccessful people will not do? The question you need to ask yourself is, do I want to be successful, or do I want to be unsuccessful? If you want to be successful, you keep on doing the things that nobody will follow you. Never follow the crowd. Always make sure you are unique. Be unique in your own way, and you will come out successful. It might take time or not, whatever it is, just make sure that you don't follow the crowd. You do your things. That you live. That is different.
I think that is really impressive, just because you're in Ghana. Yeah. I'm in America, but it doesn't matter what kid you're talking to, the message is the same. And you know, kids who follow the crowds, they're great, they're great followers. Nothing wrong with being a follower. If that's what you want to be, if that's what you decide your life is, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to stand out, you got to get out there, you got to do it yourself. You cannot let other people's opinions of you, you cannot let other people's voices get into your head. You have to follow your dream. What are some of the biggest blocks that you've noticed with some of the kids that you're working with? What are some of the biggest fears or blocks that you have to work through with them?
Yeah, so one of our fears is when I notice that we all have different talents. Although we are training them into dancing, everybody has his ability. Everybody knows has his strength, how far each other can go. But others try, that is the weak ones, they try to give up on what they are doing. They try to copy, to imitate, to just copy and paste what others are performing well. And that always blocks them whenever we go out to perform. Instead of them performing or focusing on what they are good at, they try to imitate others. And everybody has this ability. So this has been one of the greatest problems. And we are trying to work on that one with these kids to get them focusing on each and every one and what you can do. So for us, it's all dancing, just focus on what you are doing.
What are some of the things that you do, Albert, to get these kids to take that step, to get them to do their own thing, to lead? What are some of the things that you do to get them to proceed in that?
What I do, what I used to tell the trainers is never insist on the kids to go beyond what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Never insist on them. Just give them the time to do what they can do. So if you have a dancing skill and you are trying to focus them to train the exact way you are making the move, and you're getting them to do it exactly, and the kid is not coping, just don't force him. Look at him, give him the beat, and let him also come out with what he can do out of that same move that you are doing. So we don't pressure them. I always tell my trainers, never pressure the kids. Don't put pressure on the kids. Just give them the free will to do what they can do best.
I think it's exciting because I had a great opportunity yesterday to meet on Monday to meet with a young man who is a 16-year-old kid who wants to know what he can do to really help others. And I told him, look, one of the things that you're going to have is a 16-year-old kid. And unfortunately, this is true. And I think that you'll be able to back me up on this. People see a 16-year-old kid that comes and volunteers for a nonprofit or something, they're going to say, there's a trash can over there. Why don't you go and empty that? I told the young man, look, this is where you've got to stand up and say, I will do that. But when I'm done, I want to come back and tell you what I can do for you. You've got to stand up. You've got to show people that, look, I am not just a guy who can empty your trash. I can empty your trash better than anybody else in this world. But I've got more value than that. And I told him, you might have to get in their face once or twice or 3 times, whatever. But if you walk up to them and you come up to them with pride, you come up to them with a little bit of attitude even, and a lot of confidence in yourself, eventually they're going to sit there and you're going to wear them down to where they go, okay, what? That's when you come on. That's when you show people, this is me. This is what I can do for you. Give me a chance. You agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that 100%. I do agree with that. And if all kids, if all youth should listen to this today, they should listen to this today, to this talk from you and learn from it. I think they will have incredible youth coming out, changing the future, making the future a better place. Instead of having a photocopy future, they would have a talented future to be with in the next years to come.
Albert, we've got a lot of people and a lot of adults in the United States want to talk about kids have no work ethic, kids today. And I don't know, I'm going to ask you about Ghana, what it's like there. But a lot of times here in America, parents are older, the older generations will say, these kids today, they don't have any work ethic. My question to them a lot of times is, have you tried to teach them? Well, no. Well, we can't expect kids to know. We had to be taught. We got to point them out in a certain direction to kind of give them a plan. You tell a kid to go and do something, but if you don't give them any direction, they're going to go and do what they want to do. They're not going to go out and do what, you do have to lead a horse to water. Okay? That's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
Is it the same there in Ghana? Are the older generations looking at kids going, well, they're useless. They're not, they just don't do anything these days.
And say you follow the lead. It's everywhere. But in Ghana, the kids doing nothing. Because whatever it's like a trash can. Whatever you put in the trash can, get it. And that's what the kids are imitating. They're imitating. Whenever I go to school, they learn in the school. They drop from home, and the only thing they come out with is unemployment. And if a kid should come home with unemployment, not thinking about creating anything, not thinking about inventing anything into the system. So in Ghana, the kids are doing nothing. If you don't get them to train them to doing something to get their mind understand, come on, this job. How then this do this job? They do it. What they do is
it's almost the same way, and it's really one of those things that I think a lot of times it's the older generation before that had more patience with kids, the ones who took us in. I made so many mistakes as a kid, yet people still, it took trial and error for me to get it. What are you guys needing to raise money to continue to do?
So we have a downstairs kitchen in our 7 years looking forward to raise money to own our own apartment case, because instead of rent, they are renting bills, which is this coming August, and the rent law they claim to be it's taking the 2 years of renting, which is so expensive because Accra is second most expensive place in the world. It looks much more expensive for us. So we have a 7-year plan, but we're looking forward to move from the city, and if possible, we could settle somewhere less expensive in Ghana. And that's what we are looking forward to raise funds for, to get the case moving there. And we're also raising funds to start hosting our own events. We used to host our own events the previous years, but we were losing sales on tickets because of the marketing system, which is falling. And what we're trying to do is to bring back the marketing system. So I have this upcoming event I'm doing. I'm looking forward to start raising it. It's an international upcoming event. I'm looking forward to raise, to learn, to educate the Ghanaians in order to get them to get the marketing back. If marketing starts and everything goes well, there's a possibility that any funds we raise, we would have a succeed someday. They could perform at America's Got Talent or British Got Talent. That's our plan for investing into this case, not just leave them to be in the streets. Because
have you what this 2-year rent thing that your landlord is going to be taking 2 years rent. Is that a normal thing there in Ghana?
Yeah, that's in Ghana. Our renting is not per monthly; it's per year. And when you start it, they take it with the 2 years of the start. But fortunately for us, we're working with a real estate agent who got us a sponsorship on the place that we rented. Unfortunately, after losing the sponsorship and it's withdrawn down, we started to also invest into it. So it's normal thing in Ghana that when you are to rent, you start with the 2 years onwards.
Okay. So instead of like here in America, we pay the first month and the last month's rent, and then it's month to month. You guys do by the year. That's interesting. That's scary. I think that there would be a lot more people in a lot bigger danger if that's the way it was here in the US as well. So that really kind of explains something about why people are in such dire straits there in your country, because those are almost impossible odds. What are some of the other things that you're doing there in Ghana right now to try to fundraise? What are some of the other things that people can help you promote?
Yeah, so the other things we are also doing is that's what I said. I've got an upcoming event to raise internationally. It's called the BI Change Era Networking, International Networking. Looking forward to having more people coming, more people supporting. And if you attend, it's an opportunity for all of us to promote our businesses, to help our businesses grow. And I know if I'm able to help, I don't like it, I mostly don't like it when you put food in my mouth. I like it to also teach me the way to also put food on my own mouth. So I'm raising the BI Change Era Speed Networking to help promote all businesses, to promote businesses worldwide. And if I promote businesses worldwide, I believe that people would also understand to support my charitable organization.
I'm looking on your Facebook page right now, and in Westchester, Pennsylvania, you're working with another one of our great partners, Lori Landon. Is this does Lori do a lot for you guys? Is Lori a great referral and a reference for you?
Yeah, Laurie is an incredible person. Not only here, I can't skip mentioning her. I've got many incredible people I'm working with, like Mr. Z and Stefan Zvolin, and even Zach Clinton you are doing an incredible job, and Laurie London is also doing an incredible job. We're looking forward to partnership Standard Dancers Foundation with Laurie London Foundation in order to have a good working. So with Laurie London, she's an incredible lady.
Well, I know that I've talked to Z a couple times, the great Mr. Z a couple times about you, and we're trying to figure out the best way we can do it to go about getting you a really good website that's going to help you guys just expand your word and your message and get it out there. What are these kids? And here comes, just as a warning, here comes the violins for everyone. Just letting you know, what are these kids going to do, Albert, if you guys can't make rent?
Yeah, if frankly speaking, we got them from the street. We got most of these kids from the street, and we got most of these kids from their parents who are not able to fund for them well. So if we can't fund for them, then it would cost us to return the kids back to the street. And we know how dangerous the street is, how dangerous it is that people need to attack for survival. And if we leave these kids going back to the streets, then it would really cause a great harm. And it would even be heartbreaking for us to. And I don't want to do that. It's something that I don't want to do. Although it's a problem, but I don't want it come into my dream. I just want to do everything I can to train for these kids and even those that are out there that we haven't been able to reach out to them, we should be able to reach out to them.
Well, we've mentioned when we very first began this, we mentioned that Thunder Dancers is a community pay it forward fundraising mission partner, meaning every time that you shop with one of our partners, you can donate to Albert. All you got to do is scan this QR code right here, and it'll ask you, do you want to add this to your homepage on your phone? And then that means every time that you go to that form and you find somebody of the giving partners, in which there is a list, as you can see here. Oh, there is a huge list of different people who do different things. There's always room for you to join. But you just go in here and we'll say you need to get a website done. You come up here to ADA web compliance. Once again, you go to Mr. Z. You're going to find out all the information about him, where to get a hold of him. And you can click on there and you can call him and you can make an appointment. If you have Mr. Z make you a website, it's going to be a great website. I can attest to that. CommunityPayItForward.us. That's a Mr. Z original. Okay. And I put more pressure on him with my website than anybody possibly could, because my website changes daily. But you offer him, or you hire him to do build you a website, a personal website, and he's going to donate a portion of that sale back to us in a referral, and we're going to give 80% to Albert and the Thunder Dancers. So once again, Albert, we're going to do everything that we can do to support you. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that people can find you and learn more about you. We're going to be sharing your YouTube channel. We're going to be sharing your Facebook page, and hopefully we can get some people there to visit with you and to learn more about the Thunder Dancers Foundation.
Thank you.
If you could ask the people in the world one thing, what would it be?
If you had a chance to save the world, and if you got a chance, if you got one chance to save the world, and you got that same chance to destroy the world, what would you do?
It's a great question. It's a fantastic question. Albert Jerony of the Thunder Dancers Foundation, they are a community pay it forward mission partner. These kids need your help. All kids need your help. But you can help these kids by simply making a purchase with any community pay it forward giving partner. Let's help them stay in a home. Let's help keep them off the streets. Let's give these kids a chance. I always tell you guys, I love my kids, yours not so much. But every child deserves a chance. Let's give these kids a chance. Albert, thank you very much for joining us today. Let's get to work and try to help as many of your kids as we can, huh?
Thank you.
Again, that was Albert Jerony with the Thunder Dancers. And I am really freaked out by some of the stuff he said. You can't get into an apartment until you pay 2 years rent. Stephanie, could you imagine how difficult that would be?
I can't imagine. And honestly, I know him as well. And, you know, I'm not sure how that's even legal. I guess it is in his country. But 2 years up front is crazy to me. especially with the kind of work that he's doing with these kids. My heart goes out to them because he has a very short time frame to come up with all that money in order to keep the place.
You know, and one of the weirdest things about it is, Stephanie, you know, when he says that, he says it like, well, it's kind of just the way it is. You know, I mean, he understands that, look, woe is me isn't going to cut it. You know, woe is me doesn't do any good. Right. I mean, it is what it is. And that's all it is.
Kind of said, you know, and if he were to look elsewhere, it would be the same situation. So it's not even like he can go and find a different avenue to go in, because it would all be the same. And my question was, what if you decide to move before that 2 years? Like, what if something changes and you want to relocate? And I said, would you get a refund then? And he said the refund would only come when they reoccupy the space. So he would have to then wait for them to reoccupy and get a new tenant in order for him to get his refund, which I also personally don't agree with. He's doing really great things with these kids and housing and keeping them active. And they just, you know, scaled up in their, you know, performances and things. They won like a certain award that he recently shared with me. So it's a shame, you know, that he's put in a situation like this.
I just do. I wonder, and the one thing that that really came to my mind is I sit here and I wonder, here in America, how many people would that put out onto the streets?
Yeah.
In our economy, even though our economy is struggling right now, our economy is nowhere near as bad as theirs. Our economy has never been as bad as theirs. You know, jobs are, you know, those kids were put out on the street because mom and dad can't afford to feed them.
And he took them in. And now this is the situation that he's in. Yeah. Trying to keep a roof over their head. So it's tough. Really tough.
It is. Yeah. It's just, it's amazing that, you know, that the situation's amazing. He's amazing. The gentleman that you and I are going to be talking to here in a little bit, you and I, we've been working with him now for a little over a month on Footprints Forward, and we've got to learn a lot about him. And I'm really excited that we get this chance to work to try to help him out. I'm going to ask you to go on ahead and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get started with some of the stuff that you and I can talk about while we're waiting for Patric to join us.
Yeah, I'm so excited for everybody to hear more from Patric tonight. He is just an incredible human being. I know Zach and I were really, really excited to pull him from the Footprints Forward show onto this one to help him fundraise, because he is just doing really incredible things. He took, you know, a big moment in his life, you know, and turned it into, you know, an incredible opportunity for so many others, really. You know, through his hardships, he's now helping so many. And, you know, just wait. I can't wait for you all to hear his story,
and
because
he took a moment that's not just you know, just it's not even just a difficult moment. He took a moment where it could have been the end of him. It could have been the complete and total end of him, and he turned it around to something that is, I mean, like I was saying earlier in the show, we talked to that young man the other day. We talked to upwards of an hour, and this young man was very receptive to everything that I had to say. And it is true that, you know, like I was talking to him, you know, look, a 16-year-old kid comes up to a nonprofit to volunteer. They're going to be taking out the trash. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be doing menial tasks that the people who have been there forever don't want to do. That's what they're there for. And I told him, look, your best option is to sit there and go, you got it. I'm going to go and empty that trash better than anybody else. But in return, I'd like for a moment of your time for me to tell you what I can do to help you. And you've got to take initiative, because there's that thing, Stephanie, that if you don't take and grab somebody by the throat every once in a while and tell them, listen to me, they're going to step on you until you can prove yourself. And finding that opportunity to prove yourself is so difficult to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm excited for all the things with Patric and all the things going forward. I'm so happy we get to work with him on a regular basis, but really thrilled that we get to hear from him on the show tonight. But
yep.
Happy to jump in, Zach, and kind of kick off the show, flip-flop it a little bit. If you want to do that, I'm happy to do that. I have some fun stuff lined up for tonight.
Well, first off, I didn't get to say it to you last week. Congratulations, Mommy.
Oh, thank you.
So, how's week number 2 coming along?
It's coming along. So we had a baby girl on June 23rd, and gosh, she's eating every 3 hours, but I was saying around the clock, but we actually skipped a night feeding last night and for a few nights. So I'm crossing my fingers and hopeful that more sleep will be in our future. But for now, I'm just soaking it all in and trying to enjoy the moments with her, and, just really blessed to be home. She's healthy. Everybody's good. And we're settling in with her big brothers and sister. So doing really well. Thank you, Zach, for asking. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. It's like, what time is it?
Well, like I said, I'm just, I'm so thrilled that we got to go through that journey with you. When you found out that you were expecting, and we went from there. Hey, Stephanie, we're gonna do something real quick because Patric's joining us now.
Yeah.
I'm going to play a real quick video. Well, it's not a real quick video. It's about a 3-minute video, but this is talking about the stand-up centers. Okay. I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but this is the plan for the stand-up centers. And as soon as this video is done, we're going to get started with our community Pay It Forward One Hope Wine fundraiser. Sure. You may have heard us as we've been talking about a plan, but you still want to know, what are the Community Dare to Care stand-up centers? In a few simple words: complete community outreach, offering free life-critical donations. Donations from the community, donations for the community, and donations for the health of the community. What is a life-critical need? Life-critical needs are those items needed to live happy, healthy lives. Things like clothing, housewares, work clothing, school supplies, bedding, winter and summer clothing. But life is not just material needs. So we are also planning on offering computer labs, telehealth, resume assistance, food preparation, air mattress and tent repair stations, self-care stations, employment resources, medical checkups, styling services, with so much more to come. There will be spots for the Community Pay It Forward partners and sponsors, and a chance to get to know our wonderful mission partners that can help you find additional resources. But as always, a plan is only a concept until action is taken. For this to happen, we're going to have to ask for you and your support. We're asking for donations using Zelle or PayPal. Or of course, you can support us through the Community Pay It Forward program. Simply scan this, which will take you here. Find one of our partners that can fulfill your honey-do list needs. Contact them, shop with them, and take a picture of the receipt. And upload it to this form. The the simple steps in a program we call Shop, Click, and Pick. The only program where your daily shopping can support missions you love with no extra money coming out of your pocket. Allow us to help you find the partner you need by scanning here. Questions? Please call us today, 970-909-0751. Or you can send us an email, networking@communitypayitforward.us. Because when you are helping no one, you are hurting everyone. No one must go it alone when we all come together. Boy, that video lasts forever, doesn't it? So, but yeah, that's kind of our ambitious plans for moving forward, and really trying to take the thought of outreach and stealing a term from somebody, but supersizing it, making it so much better. It's kind of one of those things that I really do. I always use this example of, I remember going through one of my closets when I was moving, and I found an extra large shirt. Well, I quit smoking 17 years ago, and I basically ate myself. I doubled in size. Okay. Nobody on this earth wants to see me in an extra large shirt. All right. As one comedian said, it would look like a half-open can of Poppy biscuits. I mean, it'd just be like it's something gross. So, but that shirt was not doing me any good. But getting it onto the back of someone else, why not? It doesn't hurt me at all, and that's kind of the role for the stand-up center. So, again, the QR code right in the corner of Stephanie's. Yep. If you help us by making a donation, you can make that come true quicker than if you don't help us. So, well, the gang's all here. It's yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
It is almost like we've done this before this week, guys.
I know, it feels like it, man. I ain't gonna lie though, you killed me with that popping biscuit, bro. I was trying. I'm still trying, but man, I don't even know what to say to you except for that one, man. I want to encourage you, but yeah, I'm just laughing right now, bro.
Yeah, like I said, I heard that the first time. There was another comedian who was talking about how he wanted to get into bicycling, and he went to go and get one of those, those outfits that the bicyclers wear, and he said, yeah, they had a blue one. And all I could think of when I was going, when I was riding my bike and stuff starting to come out the sides, is I look like a Pillsbury can of half-open biscuits. And I'm like, that is me. Oh, God, that's me. And so I love that. So we are being joined by Patric Meyers. And Patric, you have, we just played a video that I recorded yesterday with a very ambitious young man out of Ghana, and he's got a program called the Thunder Dancers. And what he's done is he's taken all these kids that have been on the streets that mom and dad can't afford to feed them. Their only chance is to go onto the streets, and what's going to happen on the streets? Nothing good. There's not a lot of good things that happen on the streets. He's trying to give these kids a home and give them mission and give them a life. And so tying them in with what you're doing, I think it's wonderful, because we're taking two countries and we're really proving the same thing, that these kids need our help. Okay. And I know that a lot of people have that bias. Well, we have kids here in the United States. That's fine. Are you helping them? That's my biggest question. Are you helping them? Are you doing something? You can chirp all you want. Chirp about the kids here in the United States that need help. But if you're not helping them, don't worry about who I'm helping. If I want to help every kid in the world, that's going to be my mission. And guess what? I think we got 3 people right here on this screen. We'd love to see that happen. We'd love to see every kid taken care of. Because as we discussed the other day with the young man that you introduced me to, it's tough. And if we didn't have the mentors who stood up and showed us the way, where would have we been? We would have been one of those that, these kids today, they have no work ethic. Rah, 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 rah. That was us at one point in time. The difference is that we had somebody stand up and go, okay, I'm tired of looking at you doing it that way. Come here, let me help you do it right. Or grab my hand, let's help you out. What are you doing to help these kids, Patric?
Oh man, so I guess I just had to kind of start where it started at. And it's interesting that I gotta take these glasses off. They're bugging me with my headphones here. Now I can't see myself. So.
Hey, does that work? Right on. This is a much better show.
I felt like that commercial was like, I want problems always. Anyway, so anyway, pretty much where it started off at, I've been working with youth ministry now, well, pretty much almost my whole life. My father was a youth pastor. He was a dean of these schools in Jacksonville, Florida, and so I grew up in that environment. Got out of, turned 17, and I was just like, the heck of all this, and and did my own thing. I was definitely had a lot of rabbit in my blood at that time in my life, and I just didn't want nothing to do with anything but girls and drugs and partying, man. And that's pretty much, I spent like a 10-year bender on that. We won't get into that, but where God really started to change my heart was about 35. My dad just had this idea to start a children's church, and everybody around was just like, oh, that sounds cool. But then you had the majority of people like, you can't have a children's church. You can't do stuff like that. How can you have a church with no adults? And which it seems counterproductive, but it was probably one of the best things that we ever did. Because as adults, a lot of times we just get in the middle of things and just muck it up, because we're taking our past and our traumas and all of our things and trying to solve today's issues. I can't take the issues from back when I was in my 20s and apply a lot of that to today. In a general sense, yes, like emotionally and stuff like that. But where these kids are at mentally, it just doesn't apply. And so, anyway, we started this children's church, and we watched how getting involved in these kids' lives, it started off with just a couple of kids, and then we had 30, 40, 50 kids, and then what you saw is that the parents saw that we took care of their kids and we love their kids. And ultimately what you want to do is change the family unit, when it comes to dealing with these kids. And then we saw that going to the kids, the parents seeing that you truly love their kids and you showed up for them consistently, actually started to change the parents. And what we really wanted was the father, because wherever the father goes, the family goes. And a lot of times in media and everything else, it's portrayed that there's not Black fathers and stuff like that in the home, and that's not true. There's a lot of fathers in the home. Actually, we saw a lot of single dads as opposed to single moms, which was something I didn't know was a thing because of how media I saw it in media. But anyway, that's the segue. But anyway, I saw how this was changing the community as a whole, and now the parents are bringing their kids to church. Now we're able to, the parents are wanting to get their GEDs, and you just saw this whole mentality shift. And, of course, again, like nobody says you can do these kind of things, but we saw it happen. And we had to close down about 3 years later. And then I started my own youth group and went into a couple different things. I did this thing called the Missing Voices Project. I had a youth group called the Makers. I worked this other program called Sick and Mild Ministries, another program called EVAC. And I was the juvenile justice aftercare coordinator for Duval and Clay County. So I was wearing a lot of hats at one time. And just being involved in kids and just seeing, like a lot of times we're trying to fix the world problem. Like we have this dam that's kind of, we know it's breaking. We're watching it break, right? And then we're constantly trying to put our finger in all the little parts where the water is coming out, right? We're trying to poke our fingers at these things. Um, and I was just seeing like, man, with the juvenile justice department, you're trying to keep plugging up these holes, but you're not dealing with the root of the issue. So you had this high recidivism rate. So most of the kids that I saw constantly getting out, coming back in, getting out, coming back in. The kids, even in the youth ministries and stuff like that, you're trying to help them, and but you're seeing like, you're putting these good thoughts in them, but they still have to go home. And now the whole issue is being pretty much erased because, or they're going to school and the school's telling them complete opposite and beating them down and their kid and their peers and stuff like that. And so everything is informing them of the opposite. So I was just like really thinking about what is the root of the issue? How do you get to the part where, you can really start um, um, affecting them for the long term, where everything is that you're teaching them is not being undone. And so I was just getting into that process. And then I had, my incident where I had the accident where I just got burnt out doing all these kind of things and just a lot of crazy stuff. And I took my life. And then the reset button got hit. And so 2 years ago, I was just like, I was on my back. I didn't think I could be used anymore for youth ministry. I actually didn't want to have anything else to do with youth ministry. I was just like, I just never wanted to deal with that kind of stress and I don't know, when you're just serving people a lot, and you're doing that, people have the tendency, when you're a giver, people do take, and sometimes they take more than they should.
Yeah, and
And I
there's a
didn't
lot
want
of
to do
burnout at
that.
times too. And
Yeah, they don't care if you get burnt out, bro. People around you don't care. When you're serving, they don't care if you get when you get burnt out. They're like, "Oh, that's so sad," and then they watch you die. That's pretty much how it works. And so, um, um, I kind of I got to this point where I was just like, the way I got back into youth ministry actually was just like getting back into helping kids was, it's a story that's kind of unbelievable, but I literally got pulled out of a river when I was just sitting there, just like, God, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? And how are you going to restore all these things back to me? Because I'm back at zero. I went from 5 ministries to nothing, and I'm just trying to, and I'm just like, the last thing I want to do is work with kids. And my pastor, he calls me up on the phone, and he was just like, hey man, like he earlier that day he had put in a group thread, the men's thread, that he needed somebody to come up there and help him with the youth ministry that night because he didn't want to be in there by himself because it's just liabilities. And when you're working in youth ministry, you need to have 2 or more people, depending on how many kids that you have. And so I'm sitting there, and I had already told him, man, like, I'm not your dude. I don't want to. I'm never have anything to do with youth. And it's funny when you're telling God like what you're not going to do. How he's just like, he has a sense of humor to just to be like, yeah, that's what you're doing, bud. And so I'm sitting in this river, and I am. He calls me up, and he's like, hey man, how you doing? I just praying for you, whatever. But I can hear in his voice like he's just like waiting for me to just be like, hey man, do you need help with that youth ministry? And I was just like, I wasn't gonna say it at all. I wasn't gonna ask. And I asked. I was like, Lord's just like, man, just see what he needs. And I'm like, okay, fine, I did it. I'm like, hey, all right, man, do you need someone to come up there and help? And he was like, man, will you, man? And he was just a relief in his voice, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'm going. So I'm on the Greenway, and there's like this halfway point between my house and the Greenway. It's like another mile that I had to walk. And so I'm on this Greenway, and I'm literally crying, dude, because like I just took my life, man, like a year before this. Actually, I had just took my life. My brain was just, I can't tell you what I was going through, man. It was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. And I'm crying, I'm puking the whole way up here, and I'm walking up there, and um and then I get up there, and so the first thing he does, he goes, "Oh man, there's this kid," and he said, "You see that kid right there?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Man, we've been trying to talk to this kid, man, for a couple months since he's been here. He doesn't talk to nobody. He doesn't want to be here, and stuff like that, man." He said, "I just don't know how to reach him, man." It's just like, man, it just really bothers me. And I was like, "Yeah, well, I feel kind of crappy today. You know what I mean? I done threw up. I got the yuck mouth. I'm like trying to find mints and stuff and whatnot." And so I go get a couple mints, and I'm like, you know what? If this kid's feeling as anywhere as bad as I'm feeling, man, maybe I can just talk to him and help him out. So I go over here and talk to this kid that never talks to anybody, and um, and then next thing I know, this kid tells me like his whole life story, like how he has like an animal farm with foxes and all these exotic animals, and I know about his dad's girlfriend. Like this dude told me everything, like opened up like a book, and I was just like, oh man, there's something here. And then that night, the pastor was like, man, I don't have anything prepared. Do you mind speaking and stuff like that? And I was like, I don't mind. I'll speak. And so I can't remember if I asked him or if he asked me, but it was just kind of like a blur. And so I ended up talking to these kids, and I told them my story about how I took my life earlier that year, and like what God had been doing in my life, and how I had to depend on Him and stuff like that. And one of the kids in there was just like, man, like after it all got done, was like, man, I was just really contemplating taking my life tonight. And 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 then I started to see that like that tree wasn't just for me. You know what I mean? That tree that I took my car into wasn't just for me. Like in the middle of all my throwing up, in the middle of all the things that I didn't want to do, like now I can understand truly the despair that these kids were going through, because before I had watched so many kids commit suicide and just the crazier things that had happened in their lives, but I didn't really have true understanding of what the desperation that they felt, that they were going through. And so fast forward to about maybe 2 months ago, three no, this is back in February where I first started going to Sonic. There's a Sonic here in White House, and you know how you're talking about how we just complained about the kids and stuff like that. So I'm sitting at Sonic, and I just wanting to eat my food and stuff like that. And you got these kids revving up their cars all loud.
You're
and
talking my game now, brother.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're revving their trucks all loud and just like just hooping and hollering, and just like it's just a chaotic scene that's going on, right? I'm sitting in my car, and then one of the kids even get out and bumps my car with his door and like dents the daggum thing. And so like I get out and I throw my food in the trash, and I'm looking around, and there's just teenagers everywhere, you know. And when I was in the military, I used to live in this place called Beaufort, South Carolina. I was at MCS Beaufort, and the Marine Corps base. And like when I was a kid back there, like the club was Walmart and Sonic. That was the club, because there was nothing to do around there. It was just like this. Let me choose my words widely. I don't want to say backwoods town. It was just a small place. It was small, and there was nothing to do. And so that's where, I mean, you got dressed up literally to go to Walmart and pick up chicks. That's just like, what you did. And so, and I could see this is the same situation that these kids have. They have nowhere to go, nothing to do. But I'm still in my feelings, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, man, these teenagers, bumping my car, so I'm kind of mad. And I get in my car and I start to drive off, but something inside was like, you need to talk to these kids. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not dealing with all, because ain't nothing but a bunch of. I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a black dude in a town called White House, and next to Cotton Town. and there's not a whole lot of me out here. So it's just like, I'm just like, I don't want to get talking to no teenagers and, get lynched. Like I have to think about these things where I'm at. And so, the Lord's just like, yeah, that's just kind of a silly way to kind of go about just people. You know what I mean? And then I was just like, I still, I don't want to deal with that. So I get in my car and I drive off, and it was just like this huge like lightning strike, and I could literally hear something be like turn around. It scared me, you know what I mean? And I was just like, and I had promised myself ever since that instance, whenever God asks me to do something, I'll be obedient right then, because I don't have. Before I hit that tree, my life was just like this vapor. I had blinked, and I had went from a kid to death. You know what I mean? And then I know that I'm gonna blink, and whatever time I have left, I'm gonna be back at death again. And so I don't have this. There's a sense of urgency about what you do with what I do with my life right now. And so I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, God, I'm yours. I'm gonna go do it. So I turned the car back around. I almost hit another car because I was just kind of scared. You know what I mean? And then that I could really hear this thing, and I pulled back up into the Sonic, and the one kid that's just it's just kid in his truck, man. He's just loud, and he's that guy that needs to be the life of the party kind of guy, and just whatever. And I'm just like, back in the day, in my day, he would be the first dude I would punch in the mouth. Like when I was a kid back in the day, I would just to prove a point that he wasn't as bad as he thought he was. That was my mentality when I was a kid. And so I'm like, the Holy
That
Spirit's
sounds like
yeah.
Mr. Z, just the life of the party, that loudmouth guy, that Mr. Z.
you know. And so I'm like, you know what? That's the Lord's like, that's the guy. And I'm like, all right. So I went to go talk to that guy, but I wasn't actually meant to reach that guy. I'm like, hey, man, do you mind if I tell you, my story? I said, man, I know you guys saw me pull off, but I saw you here. And God was just telling me, man, I need to come back and talk to you guys. And I said, I don't know why. I have no idea why, but I'm supposed to, man. And so I started talking to this kid. And then next thing I know, there's about 8 kids gathered around me, and I'm telling them about the gospel and who they can be in Christ, and I'm asking them about the things that they're going through in their life. And out of those 8 kids, you had 4 of them that were going through severe depression, coming out of things, had friends die. You had 2 other kids that were like in that place of struggling with suicide and all the other kind of stuff. And then you had another girl that was anxiety, and it was just like the need was very apparent. They were hungry for somebody just to come in and just talk to them and tell them that and just see them. And they were so hungry for somebody just to hear what was going on in their lives. And so um these kids got saved, they ended up coming to church with me that weekend and stuff like that. And the next day, um, I had made this post on Facebook about just like what was going on at this Sonic, and I was just like, I had got up that Saturday morning. I was like, hey, if as a community, if you guys want to pray with me, man, about these kids and just rejoice about what's happened with them, man, come meet me at my fire pit, my apartments. And so the next day, it was like I mean, this thing went from like one person, I don't know anybody in White House. It went from like, I was talking to my girlfriend, we was having a date that morning, and my phone just kept dinging, dinging, dinging. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's like 20 people, 30 people, 100 people, 800 people, 1,000 people that are like looking at this post, like, what can we do for our kids in this community? And so I'm seeing now that this is actually bigger. Something just happened that was way bigger than me. And so we had like about 30 people meet at the apartment complex. And I went to the basketball court with a couple of guys that showed up later on that evening. And I talked to about 8 more kids at the basketball court, and they came to Christ and they got saved. And then now, like, you could see the people seeing the need. It wasn't just me that was seeing it. Now everybody's seeing this, and they watched it happen. Because a lot of times we're so afraid to go and just talk to these kids, and but I showed them how to do it, and that they could do it. And it was just this thing that caught through the weekend, and it brought the community together in a big way. um and and uh and so, you know I didn't really. I was like, Lord, what is it that you want me to do now? You know what I mean? Because like, you know, um, there's just so many kids here, and Sonic is the only place that they got to go. And I know these kids are on drugs. Every time I've been up to the Sonic, 'cause I kept going up to the Sonic and just sitting at the bench and being like, hey, if you guys want to talk, I'm here. I'll sit at the table. And the kids will always come up, and I'm always meeting a new kid. And then like the next week, I met a kid that um, had tried to hang himself and tried to run himself into a tree. And like literally 2 weeks before that, and when I talked to him, he was just like, you could see that he was just done and tired. And that was like that conversation like kept that man alive at that very moment. And it's just that's the issue that I'm running with. I just literally talked to a girl, a friend of mine yesterday, and you have two kids that are dealing with this suicide thing. I just talked to a buddy last night that just almost took his life last night, and it was just like I ended up having to call and text at the right time. He's like, "Man, you saved my life." You know, this thing is so much more nefarious than we could ever imagine right now that's going on with this darkness that's happening to our kids and our community and our people around it. And so I'm just not a person to sit around and know that's happening and then just think someone else is going to do something about it. The issue is staring me in the face, just like you have that piece of paper on the ground. I have a choice as a man and to either walk by it and pick it up and throw it in the trash, or wait for people to throw 10 more pieces of trash on the ground, and the problem gets worse. And so I'm just not built that way. And so the next thing I knew, I was like, all right, well, I want to create a place for these teens to come into and be able to do something. So I started forming this thing called the Youth Initiative. Um, and I'm in the middle of doing that now. We're on our third session doing this, but I don't believe that it's meant for just one church. I think it's meant for the community to actually put their resources into it, and we all do something to catch our kids. And it's bigger than just White House in this community. I want to like, look, man, you're talking about reaching some kids from Ghana. I ain't gonna lie, you kind of sprung that on me, but then I was so glad that you did, because what's the point of having the Call Edge Global name if I'm not going to reach kids everywhere? My girlfriend lives in Singapore, and or she lives in Singapore, but she's from the Philippines. And I have some people that have worked with me from the Philippines, and they're talking about the issues going on with the kids there and how great the need is there, man. And then like you're seeing pictures because they just got hit with a typhoon and this huge fire out there that like decimated whole communities, and like these kids are just like, I mean, this need is so much. Like, can you imagine being in that kind of situation and thinking that um you're not going to feel some sort of way about your worth and who you are when you're just stuck in this situation that you can't get out of? And most kids and teenagers, they're stuck in situations and problems that we've created as adults, and then expecting them to lace up their bootlaces and figure it out for themselves. And that's just absolutely crazy. And so with the youth initiative, um, my goal, I went through this program called the Missing Voices Project, and it's this $1 million project. And I believe I shared it with you, Zach, what we did. And um, it is probably the biggest thing that has changed my mind in how to go about reaching the youth that I've ever done. They had people that come from all over the world and all over the country that has revamped major companies, Palmolive, Colgate, Procter and Gamble, and like Starbucks, and what these people did in their lives before they start getting the ministry, they revamped these companies to get them to think outside the box about how to do community relations. And so what they taught us was community-based asset relations, which is a lot of times we're looking at the money. We're always looking at where do we get the funding? Where do we do this? And not understanding that a lot of times our greatest resources are the people in the communities with the issues, with those problems. All you have to do is provide them the tools and the knowledge, and let them take those tools and those knowledge and apply it to their own situations. And see, what happens is this is twofold. Number one, I'm not coming in with my own ideas playing savior to people that don't need the solutions that I have. Because most of the youth programs and team programs that we got, like they're effective for the metrics, but they're not effective for the long-term change that is actually needed for a kid to actually survive and thrive. It might be this like stopgap, but it's not actually patching the dam. You're putting a hole in it, and that's what a lot of these programs do. And I'm not bashing anybody, but we know it's true because we keep seeing the same problems happening over and over and over again. But it's that saying that if you give a man, if you give a man a fish, he'll feed himself for that meal. But you teach him how to fish, he can feed himself forever. Which is the concept behind what I'm doing with the youth initiative. The tools that I've learned to actually think outside the box, to use the creativity that's already innate inside of me, because if you think about every single major thing that you have in this world that has been invented or that you use, it all came from this crazy idea that nobody else thought was uh, would be possible or that you should be doing. Everybody's like, you can't do that. That's not how the way the world works. And then you always had that one person that goes, I don't know. And they kept pushing. And then now you have a phone, a computer, you have the shirt that you're wearing, the hat that you have, the car that you drive. You have, I mean, but imagine giving that kind of power and teaching that kind of mentality to go against what the status quo, what the box that to be honest, the powers that be want to have us in, to take that box and that lock off and let them know that God created you with this mind to be expansive and infinite. And that whatever you actually put your mind to, and you put that into the hands of a God that actually created you and gave you purpose, because every single one of us has purpose, regardless of what. It doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't matter what your state is. You could even be, you could be. I've seen deaf people do things. I've seen people that are deaf and dumb. I've seen people that didn't have hands do more things than some people that do. So everybody has his purpose that their divine creator gave to them. How do we unlock that and teach how to do that? That's what the youth initiative is. And so the heart behind it is to find a neutral ground and for a place for them to meet, which is, to be honest, it's going to take money that I don't have. I'm going to need people to help me with that. We need a place for these kids to actually meet, or that we can build, that they can be at. Most of the stuff that's here in this area and in surrounding areas is for kids between 6 and 14. But for kids that are 15 and up, there is literally nothing for them to do. Driving age and up, there's nothing for them to do. So the only thing they're going to do is get in drugs, hump until like they have 100 kids. You know what I mean? Basic teenager stuff, just get into things that they shouldn't be into. And then, the thing is that at 15, 16, 17 years old, all the way up to 20, basically, they can be doing things beyond the scope of their imagination. We had an inner city school group that made an Oculus room for the elderly so they could connect together during COVID. We had another group of kids that started a program for pregnant, for expecting parents. So if you had a single dad that's a teen, or a single mom that's a teen, well, they had a program that supported them for diapers, how to get housing, how to get a job, how to do their Medicaid and stuff like that. And what they really try to do is actually keep those kids from getting on Medicaid, but helping them to find the jobs that actually that kept them out of that system. Because once you're in that system, man, you're just, I don't want to get into political stuff, but once you get into that system, man, you are pretty much kind of almost bound to it. It's really hard to get out of it, when you start doing food stamps and all that kind of stuff, because that's the kind of programs that they try to do for the poor community. And we don't want our kids in that kind of stuff. We want them to be able to survive and thrive off their own ingenuity or things that's in the community. So if we can find them a trade, if you can actually take whatever the idea, get behind it, and help them build their own companies, whatever it is that you can do with that to keep them out of that system, that's what we were trying to do. Then the second part to the whole initiative thing is to create a network of communities of resources. And so basically, the resources that you have, that we have right now, as far as community pay it forward, and the different companies and people in that actually help people. Well, how do we get these places talking? So, like, if you have a kid that, no matter where they're at, so say right now we form a network in White House. If you have White House where you have a kid that doesn't have food, he needs an education, he doesn't have a church. Well, we can look at a database and list and be like, all right, man, we know this is what you need. What do you need? This is what I need. All right. Even down to how do you help get a program for kids, even help get cars or whatever, you know what I mean? So they can get back and forth, because there's programs like that out there. We just don't know about them. And so we get all those resources together, have a package where you don't just give these things to kids. You don't give these to people, because people need to have ownership of the things that they do. It's very, very important. It's something I learned the hard way, is that people will take your services and then nothing changes. But when people earn those different types of things, or have a way to take pride and ownership in the fact that of what they're getting to improve themselves, then you have a whole another different kind of person and citizen that are using these resources. And so, like, you take them through job training, because a lot of these kids don't know how to work. You're saying, hey, go get a job, but they don't have the skills. And I mean, they're on the computer all day and on their video games all day. So how are they supposed to go and know to be up? If you need to be at a job at 5:45, well, you need to be there at 5:30. You know what I mean? If
Oh yeah.
if your boss does something you don't like, well, this is not the time you run your mouth. You keep your job and do what you're supposed to be doing, because that's your job. You're supposed to do the things you don't like to do, because it's not your business. If you want to do what you want to do, let's start a business. Let's use that good big old brain of yours and figure out what you want to do. But if you don't, let's teach you the actual skills to survive and thrive. And so that's number one. And then if you're a part of a program that you are actually taking from, well, we want to teach you how to be a part of that program so you can pay it forward also. So you can do the exact same thing and sew back into somebody else. And so there's things that you're earning in that. So we're real figuring out how that's going to play out practically. But it's all about the personal responsibility of the tools that you're giving people. You know what I mean? Like, if I give you a tool, I'm not going to give you a tool so you can go and break it and I don't get it back. I want to give you the tool. So, like, when you take that tool, you're using it, you're sharpening it so you can give that tool to the next person. That's the idea behind it.
I literally just had that conversation about, you've got to do some things you don't like. And I'm not joking with this, Patrick. I literally had that same speech about an hour and 37 minutes ago. And this show started an hour and 33 minutes ago. Okay. We were having that conversation right as this show started with someone. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that how it's weird how that all worked out. I want to ask you a personal question. We know this story. You have a unique way of saying it. I took my life. It's not I tried. You say I took my life.
Mm.
Can you explain to people why, please?
Why I say it that way?
Why do you why you say it like that?
Because it's what happened. The thing is, when you really think about it, my life, man, you're asking me a question, man. You opened up a can of worms, man. So I'm let the worms come out, bro. So, this thing is, man, is that it doesn't matter what you believe or what you think, man. There's a God is absolutely real, man. No, I got it. I was in that place between life and death, man. And the thing is, in my own way, I when I hit that tree, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like I wanted to die. No, it was just like, man, how do I had all these things going on in me that were it's just like you're a failure, you're this, you're that, you're unworthy, you're unloved, nobody cares, nobody loves you, everybody hates you. You know what I mean? You know, because I went through a period where I had lost my mind. I literally was going crazy because of the things that were happening to me, and people didn't understand that. Like, you know, they didn't look at the character that I had built the whole time. They looked at the way I was behaving, not understanding that my behavior was because I had PTSD. I had a thing where like my filters had shut off, and um pretty much anything that I was thinking was coming out of my mouth because the PTSD was so severe. So there was no filter, which if any human being has a filter, that even if you say you don't, you still do. And I didn't have that at all. So it was just whatever was in here was just raw coming out. And then on top of that, it was just um I didn't feel like I was worth it. And at that in that moment of that weakness of just number one, just being like, God, there's no way, God, you can exist with all this happening to me. Because it was like every day something worse was happening. And when as soon as I had that thought, the despair hit in this on another level. And it was just every dark thing that could be spoken to you was being spoken to me at once. And I was just trying to drive and get out the neighborhood and clear my head, but it was just that last little string that was holding me together, it was snapped. And I was like, how do I get all this to stop? And I was like, oh, a tree. Hit the gas and boom. And I ran into this tree and I died. I don't know how long I was there. It could have been a second, it could have been a couple of minutes. I have no idea what happened, but I know I died when I hit that tree. Because I was in it was in light or dark, it was in the space. And um I was just it wasn't no light or darkness. I didn't go to see no light and after that. It was just this space where it was just me and a holy God. And the first thing I knew was all the things that we are as a human being, like the mask that we wear, and every single one of us, we have one. Like as authentic as we wish that we are, um, there's this all this whole side that nobody knows. So we're all wearing this mask, but that there between you and God, there is none. As much as you want to try to think that you do, there isn't. And you find that out when you're in that presence of holiness, where there's this pure goodness that can't be explained, that you just can't measure up to. And everything that I was as a man, I was exposed. Like this, all my secret thoughts, all of my uh all of my ambitions that had nothing to do with God, all of the things where I was just like, I'm in control. And the thing is, even in that moment of trying to take my life, God loved me more than my lapse of judgment at this time. And so a lot of times if we think that our life is not our own, I could say I try to take my life. I took my life. The thing is that uh at that tree, my life was completely my that old life that I had was completely taken from me. I took that old life was gone. Because the next thing I knew in that space was the love that God had for me. And it was like it was consuming every single nano thing that I was made of. And we don't have an understanding of what that is, like how intricate God has made us to this infinite detail. And that was being consumed. And I was just like, man, God, I was like, that's enough. Like, oh man, it's just a lot. And so the next thing I know, I'm looking back at this tree and my femur had went through the back of my leg and crushed my hip, and my foot was crushed into a ball. And had I been 2 inches more to the left, I would have died instantly. But but it's God's life. No matter what we try to do to control it, and how much control we think we have. Because even right now in this conversation, right? Like, say we've been talking for about 5 minutes, and which we haven't, but say we had a conversation for 5 minutes, right? And say your heart beats 60 beats a minute, and 60 times 5 is 350 beats, right? And what it says in this word is that God thinks good thoughts about us every single second of the day, as many grains of sand as it is on the planet. And so, as many grains of sand as there are planet, in the oceans, in the deserts, on the ground, through the earth's crust, the part that, like we can't even fathom that number. Every single second of the day, that's how much your God thinks about you to keep you alive. That those thoughts, trains upon trains upon trains upon trains upon times, like not one of us can stop our heart just by a thought. We don't have no control over our heartbeat. But we're so arrogant sometimes to believe that I mean, if you don't have control over your own heartbeat, where you can be, I'm gonna wake up today or not. You don't even know when you're gonna wake up. You can't even hold your breath on your own you can't suffocate yourself by just holding your breath. It's literally physically impossible, because those thoughts that are from God, that are trains of trains of trains and trains of trains of times upon each second, to keep your heart literally beating. Your life is not your own, and that's the thing. When I hit that tree, I died because I everything about the old Patrick died because I realized this is the truth of things. And so at that moment, I had to work it out over a year. I had a year of coming out of depression, a year of fighting for my life, learning how to walk again. Um, like what you see now is a lot of loss and struggle and fight and and literally just knowing that I can't do any of this on my own. I need my daddy God to do it for me, and trusting in him like a little boy would trust his dad to jump off of a cliff and he'll catch him. And that's the way I literally live. I try to live every second of every day. And so like when you're living like that, you can't exist in that space. Um, and it's not a toot of my own horn because I'm nobody, but I'm everything to him. And so um, I'm just a son of the Most High, man. I don't even really like, to be honest, like I could care less about what happens with my name. I used to care about that. That was actually one of the most important things to me was my name. I could care less who knows my name. Um, I could care less of what legacy I leave behind. Uh, the only legacy that I want people to know about me is that I love my God with all of my heart, all my soul, all my mind, and that I've told as many people about him as humanly possible, and that I lived for him. If that's what a man says about me, um, then I've lived.
Yeah. I I just think it's really important for people to understand why you say it that way. Hey, Stephanie, I know that you and I work closely with Patric. You and I do a lot of stuff with Patric, and we've really been excited for this opportunity. Why don't you ask Patric? I know that you've got a couple questions for him.
Gosh, I mean, every time he speaks, I feel like whoosh, all over again, you know? And Patric, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I went to Catholic school throughout my childhood, and and I had we did church, and I had nuns as teachers, and all the things, and this is like a whole nother level of everything, and I grew up in that. But hearing you speak, like there's like this whole other feeling and connection. So anyway, thank you for being here. um Gosh, I know you've been working with these kids for a long time. Are you finding that the pressures and the problems in working with them, like now today, are different than years ago? Like for them, are the pressures different? And if so, in what way? And maybe this is kind of a loaded question, but maybe in what ways could we as families kind of help and support the things that are going on, or redirect them in the right direction?
That's a great question.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that into two answers. If I'm going to come back to you and ask you the second part about the families, so I make sure that so keep that, pin that question. The first question that you asked me was, what are the things that I'm seeing differently from when I was doing things a couple years ago to now? That's the first question, correct?
Yeah, I'm just curious from the kids' side, are the pressures and problems, are you finding that they are different?
Okay, so when I really started doing youth ministry on my own, not with my dad, just I really started doing it on my own, it was a different process that I was going through and a different investment. And so I'm really actually looking into these kids' lives. So that started about 17, about 2017, 18 is when I really started seeing, like, being in the trenches heavily and dealing with school systems, school boards, all this kind of stuff. And I was seeing this massive shift happen in the schools. Like, you knew these things were happening in schools, but you didn't know to what extent. And then, like, the far-reaching implications of certain decisions. And then when I'm starting to watch this play out in my kids' lives, and especially with the school system, I never would have thought that it would have got to this point so fast, but the warning signs were all there. We just didn't pay attention to them. And so, like, the things that I was dealing with then, I would say it's 20 times worse. And that's not it. That might be a low exaggeration. It's 20 times worse since 2018 than it is now. When I stopped doing youth ministry in 2021 because of everything happening, right? What I have seen in the last 3 years, because it's 2023 now, about 2020 is when I've seen a massive shift. I have never seen more depression, more anxiety. When COVID happened, I have never seen more depression, more anxiety, more confusion about who you are and your identity. Like, never in my life have I ever seen things just rapidly go so dark. Like, everything that was wrong is right. Everything that is right is wrong. And this happened in 3 years. And I mean, we are literally having conversations about drag queens, and I'm not trying to be on no high horse, but are we literally having conversations about this kind of stuff with kids? Like, I mean, we have to really stop and think. Like, and the thing is, I'll be honest with you, it's been really hard to talk to parents because it's like we don't want to see it. We know it's happening. It appalls us and disgusts us, but we don't want to think it's happening to our kids, our individual kids. It's not happening to my kid. And then when it does happen to your
My
kid,
kid's smart enough that he's going to stay out of that trap.
yeah. And so when it does happen to your kid, I see it. I can't tell you time and time and time again, you didn't prepare your walls. When your kid at your all right, I'm going to answer your second question, because yes, it's 20 times worse. I have to answer this question, and I have to answer it boldly. So whoever's listening, I would like to apologize, but I don't. Let's just get that off the table right now. So your home as a parent is your fortress that your kid is supposed to get all his protection from. And that fortress extends to everywhere your kid walks out into this world and touches until the day he leaves his home. And we have forgotten to shore up the walls on our fortresses. And we've let all the riffraff and stuff come in. And then when our kids are like in this mental anguish, like in all these other kind of things, and it's not a diss. I'm gonna lay it out first, and then I'm gonna be like, and then I'm going, right now it's not the grace part. I'm gonna give you grace in a minute, because I'm a parent that did this, and I dealt with it because my kid was suicidal or like most of her life. So it's not something that I'm saying that is for you and it doesn't apply to me. And so we have we have opened up all the gates through letting our kids have tablets and phones that are actively, they are literally designed to destroy your kids' identity and minds and separate them from you. But we give it to them willy-nilly. Like, you have to turn that stupid thing off and get it out of their hands, because it's the one thing. Like, if you try to take your phone or your tablet from your kid right now, you already know the kind of hell that you're going to have to go through. But it's better to go through that hell now before their identity gets destroyed, and then now you're having to deal with a kid that you're having to put in a mental hospital, or you're dealing with a kid that you might lose, or you're sitting there as a father like I was, and having your whole life fall before you when your kid is like so lost that they look at you in your face and tell you, what do you do with a daughter that tells you that she's not going to make it? And you're looking in her eyes and you see deadness. What do you do? It's too late at that point. It's like you're doing damage control that you can do damage control with now. So the grace that I would like to give is like, all right, it's done. That's the past. We've already made we've already made those mistakes of not paying attention. Now at this point in moment, I've told you. So now you're responsible. And so what are you going to do with that responsibility that you've been told to right now? And the grace is right now is that there's so many things out there you can help. A resource that you can go to if your kid needs help and you need help. And a lot of times we don't. So this is what we'll do. As parents and as fathers and mothers, we will study everything for our work to be good at our job. We will study everything. We will know all the stats for a football team and a football game and all this other kind of stuff. But we don't go read a book about how to be better parents. We don't read a book about how to be a better father. We don't deal with our own issues of depression and anxiety that we're dealing with. We won't go deal with that. Do that first. So that's what's going to make you healthy to take care of your kid. That's going to help you see the warning signs. That's going to actually help you be able to speak to them and not put their destiny in someone else's hands. And so these are all things that I have actively been doing for myself before I'm even speaking to you, because I had to dig down deep and be like, I'm the problem, not my kids. Now that my kids, like I lost my kids, right? And I'm gonna bare my soul before you guys because I want to help as many of you as possible. And I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit long on this question, but I think it's one of the most important questions that I've been asked, and I've been really, it's something I've thought about, and I've never really wanted to, but I'm being called out upon the waters right now, and so this is what's happening. And so I lost my kids. I was doing the best as a father that I possibly could, but I had my own trauma that I didn't deal with. I had stuff from my childhood, from molestation that didn't have nothing to do with none of the people around me. But something happened to me when I was a boy. Just the feeling of worthlessness because I grew up in pretty much all white areas as a black kid, and a lot of people think that they're not being racist, but they are being very extremely racist, not understanding that, dude, like, hey, what you're doing and saying and how you're saying things, like man, you're one of those good ones. Like, what the freak does that mean? You know what I mean? Or like, they can't believe that I can speak proper English. I'm not speaking Ebonics. Man, you talk just like us. And I'd be like, mother, like,
I am just like
serious?
you jackass.
You know what I mean? I was like, the people that I know talk just like me, man. You just don't be around enough of us. For you only see what you see on media, but you don't actually speak to people. And so, like, that's the context that I grew up in. So it was this duality of where you just didn't belong. And then you go back to your own community, and because you do talk proper and you do talk different, then you go back to your own community, and they're like, "Oh, you're Uncle Tom," and then this and that. And so I'm fighting on the way home, fighting on the way back, and then it's just like, it was just I never fit anywhere. And so I'm dealing with all this trauma as a kid, And then so, when you're dealing with those things, all you want to do is just be loved by anybody. And so all you're people pleasing, and everybody else's opinions about you form your identity. And so I was 40 years old, running free, not knowing who I was, because all my input about who I am came from everybody else. So my life didn't belong to me at all, period. How am I going to help my son be a man and tell him about his identity when I don't even know mine? I'm going to tell my daughter. And so, like, that was the reality of things. I didn't know it at the time, because when you get kids, it's a big old experiment, dude. Like they just go, it's just like God was just like, figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels like a lot of times, man. But the thing is,
This is yours. Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
The thing is, there is an instruction manual to this. We just don't pick it up and read it. There's all kind of help out there that tells us what to do, but that's not our priority. And it needs to be your priority. If you are dealing with depression and anxiety as an adult, as a parent, and you're overwhelmed and you don't know your place, you don't even have rest, and especially as men, and I'm going to talk to the fathers right now specifically, we're the worst, because we're leading our families astray, trying to be the breadwinners and everything else, but we're not thinking about what kind of love are we, what kind of presence and love that we're actually giving out. And so we're thinking that we're doing the right thing, we're thinking we're standing in the gap, but we're not loving our wives correctly, which directly informs your kids on who they are. When the parental unit is correct, then the kids are correctly informed and know their place. But if us as fathers, we're so busy at work, so the last thing that our kids get is the last bit of us. We're not actually we might have general conversations with our kids, but are we spending this time with our kids where we are the one that, because it says in the word, it says fathers train up your child, not mothers, fathers. That's what it says in his word. And we have relegated that responsibility to the women, and that's I'm going to just say it anyway. And so that is the problem that I'm seeing all the time. The lack of identity, the depression, the anxiety, it's a lot of it is our fault as fathers. And we have to take responsibility for that and the things that we are learning. Instead of getting on the game, instead of watching the thing, well, pick up a book about, here's a good one. As a Man Thinketh, by I'll have to think about it. I think it's something Allen. I can't remember the first name, but it's this book called As a Man Thinketh. It's actually, you can go on YouTube and look it up. And this is about the way that we think as men directly cultivates the way that the world around us reacts. And as men, we were created with dominion. We were created with the authority of dominion. Dominion doesn't mean that you're going around being like, I'm a man, I crush all beetles. That's not what it means at all. It just means that you are given the direct responsibility to affect the environment that your hands, your world touches. So this house that I'm in right now is my dominion. Whatever goes in it is my responsibility to change it for the way that God wants it to be, or for right. And so, and then if I go to the gym, wherever I step, that is my dominion. That whoever comes into that space, they need to know who I am between me and my God, and that affects that area for whatever change is necessary. So if another young man walks into my presence, he's going to be affected for the right things, period, because that's who I am. And so if we're not doing that as men and taking responsibility, because the game is more important, sleep is more important, our jobs are more important, then we're failing right then. And so that is the problem. Then, and then on top of that, to be honest with you, men, if you are changing in this area, your wife is affected by the energy, and the energy she puts out is the proper energy to actually deal with the kids. And that's how it's all designed. But somehow we've gotten this whole family unit thing screwed up. And then we're tossing responsibility and advocating authority to the tablet, to the TV, to the Xbox, to I'm so tired. That should not be so. And so the tools and the resources, they're right in front of you. You have Google, you know what I mean? You have, man, I feel like I'm so brash, man, right now. And I can't help it because,
well,
but it needs to be said. I'm trying to make, Lord, please let me be more soft, but I can't.
Yeah, well,
and I'm sorry.
You know
because
what,
it needs to
brother,
be said, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be right back here in 2 weeks, so we can hear more from you. Stephanie, why don't you go on ahead and explain?
I'm sorry, Stephanie. I don't know if I explained.
Oh
no, please.
Look,
this is about you. Don't apologize.
This is fascinating. We love what you do, and that's the reason why we've been waiting to have you on here.
Absolutely. So if you're watching and you are not on our community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraising page on Facebook, it is a group. Definitely jump on and join us there. But what you're seeing on the screen is a QR code that will take you directly to the fundraising link to help support all the things that Patric is doing with his youth initiatives and everything. You can take out your phone, hold it up to that QR code. It will take you directly to the fundraiser. If you'd prefer to type it in your browser, the link is right at the bottom there, onehopewine.com/event/ and make sure you put in that 6-digit unique code there, and it will take you right to that fundraising link. Patric, man, thank you so much for being. I could go on with questions, but I know we're coming up short on time, so I'll hold them for now until our
we will be back in 2 weeks from tonight. And we'll pick this up. And, Patric, again, I want to thank you, brother. I really do. Look, we got to talk, we got to talk to each other. And this shutting down and not being able to converse on some of these problems that we've got, we're putting a lot of pressure on kids nowadays. We really are.
Yeah.
And some of these conversations we're having with kids nowadays is just ridiculous. Like you said, it is. It's terrible. But I do want to thank you very much for joining us this week. We will be back here in 2 weeks to continue these stories. Please make sure that you just go and order wine today. You can go to our fundraising page right here on Facebook, Community Pay It Forward, One Hope Fundraiser, or simply scan that code, order your wine, and Patric can get on with what he's talking about. And what he's talking about is shaping our kids' lives. So if you need any more information, please visit this lovely new mom, our goddess of the grape, Stephanie Samos, right there on her linktree /Steph Samos. We are running
the fundraising page right at the top on that Linktree as well, if you want to join our page on Facebook.
Yep. Hey, and we also want to give a real quick shout out to our brother in Footprints, Dennis Schroeder, for making this happen tonight. He's assisting this with us with this. So we want to thank him out. Thank him. But we do have to let you go. We're running a little bit over here. Folks, I say it every week and I mean it every week. Please make sure you love somebody out there, because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Let's take care of each other, all right? We're all we got. That's just the way it is. We will see you on Friday with Community Impact. For Patric Meyers, for the Goddess of the Grape, Stephanie Samos. My name is Zach Clayton. I thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Stepping out of her fear, bring me home. Out alone to show me the way. You wanna be a part of Sunset Boulevard.